Hello, students. Today I am going to teach you a poem on killing a tree written by Chief Patel. Now, this is a poem which is basically a criticism of human callousness and cruelty in chopping down trees for agriculture, urbanization, and industrialization. Now, we know that human beings have become so cruel that they don't think twice before cutting down a tree for their own selfish interest. This poem shows to what extent of cruelty human beings can reach in order to fulfill their own selfish interests. We often forget that trees are living and breathing things. They have life in them. When we break its branches, it feels painful, hurt in the same way as we do when our limbs are injured or broken. So we must keep it in mind that the cruelty we are causing to the trees, it is not a feature of human beings. Human beings are sent by the Almighty God to take care of all the other creations of God. We human beings are the most intelligent creatures on earth, and God has made us intelligent so that we can take care of the other things, other creations of God. But are we doing so? No, we are not doing that. We are not discharging our responsibilities. Rather, we are causing destruction, deforestation. We are destroying the beautiful creations of Almighty God. So, this is a poem where the poet has written to remind us once again that trees are living things and to make us realize our cruelty in cutting down trees. At the same time, he also wants to show the resilience power of the trees as they bear all the attacks and wounds but refuse to die easily. We see in this poem that how much we human beings have to make effort in order to kill a tree permanently. So, this again shows the resilience power of the tree, which does not die easily. So, now let us move on to the first stanza of the poem. It takes much time to kill a tree. Not a simple jab of the knife will do it. It has grown slowly, consuming the earth, rising out of it, feeding upon its crust, absorbing years of sunlight, air and water, and out of its leprous hide sprouting leaves. So, what does the poet say? The poet says it takes much time, it takes a lot of time to kill a tree. A tree cannot be killed easily. Not a simple jab of the knife will do it. What do you mean by jab? A simple strike with the knife. If you if you poke the knife on the tree, or if you strike the knife on the tree, it will not kill the tree. It has grown slowly, consuming the earth. So the tree has grown gradually, slowly, with the passage of time, consuming the earth. Consuming means eating the earth. Does it eat the earth or it eats the nutrients from the earth? We know that the roots of the trees absorb water and minerals from the earth. So here the poet means to say that the tree has grown slowly, gradually over the years by by absorbing the minerals and water from the soil. Here, earth refers to soil. Rising out of it. So, from where the tree is rising? The tree is rising from the earth, from the soil, feeding upon its crust. Crust refers to the surface of the earth. So, the tree is feeding from the surface of the earth. I have already told you just now that the tree sucks or absorbs the minerals, the nutrients, the nourishment, the water from the soil with the help of its root. So, here feeding upon its crust meaning absorbing the nourishment, nutrients, minerals, and water from the earth, from the soil. And how does it do it? With the help of its root. Absorbing years of sunlight, air, and water. And for all these years, it has absorbed sunlight, air, and water. And it has become so tall and strong. So have you understood this? So the tree has grown over a long years, over a long time, right? It has grown slowly, gradually over the years by absorbing all the nourishment, nutrients, minerals, and water from the soil with the help of its roots. And it has also absorbed sunlight, air, and water all these years, and now it stands tall and strong. And out of its leprous hide sprouting leaves. Now, what does the word leprous mean? You must have heard of a disease called leprosy, which actually affects the human beings. And when a person is affected with leprosy, his or her skin becomes discolored or white in color. So here the hide means the bark of the tree has become discolored, has become white or discolored, and from its discolored bark leaves have grown. Sprouting leaves have come out from its discolored bark. So let us come to the next stanza now. So hack and chop, but this alone won't do it. Not so much pain will do it. The bleeding bark will heal, and from close to the ground will rise curled green twigs, miniature boughs, which, if unchecked, will expand again to its formal size. Now, what does the word hack means? To cut. To cut with repeated blows. When you go on hitting repeatedly with the axe or with the knife, it will make several cuts on the bark of the tree. Chop. What do you mean by chop? To cut with, to cut into small pieces. Again, with repeated blows. When you go on repeatedly hitting onto the bark of the tree, it creates many cuts and it results in cutting into pieces. But the poet says, hack and chop won't do it alone. Won't do what? Won't kill the tree. Hack and chop. These major or minor injuries are not enough to kill a tree. The bleeding bark will heal from close to the ground. Now, bleeding bark. Now, if we get a cut on our skin, it starts bleeding, blood comes out. But in case of the trees, does blood come out? No. In case of them, it is a kind of a sap, a liquid, a colorless liquid which comes out if the bark is cut. So that secretion of the colorless liquid or sap is referred to as bleeding here. The bleeding bark will heal. So the bark will heal with the passage of time. And from close to the ground will rise curled green twigs. So again, from close to the ground, new twigs. What do you mean by twigs? Small, thin branches. Again, twigs rise. Again, green curled twigs will rise from close to the ground. And miniature boughs. Miniature means small in size. Boughs means branches. Again, small branches will grow from close to the ground, which, if unchecked, will expand again to its former size. So, if we don't trim those branches time and again and again, it will grow into its former size. Former size means into its earlier size. If we don't check it, if we don't check it time and again, if we don't control it, if we don't trim, if we don't trim the branches, if we don't cut it time to time, if we leave it without check, it will again grow to its earlier size. Let us come to the next stanza now. No, the root is to be pulled out of the anchoring earth. It is to be roped, tied, and pulled out, snapped out, or pulled out entirely out of the earth cave, and the strength of the tree exposed. So the poet says, no, all these ways we can only injure the tree. We cannot kill it. In order to kill the tree, we have to pull out its roots. Now we know that the roots of the trees are fixed firmly to the soil. And we know that the life of the tree, the strength of the tree lies in its roots. ट्री का जो जीवन होता है, जो प्राण होता है, वो अपने रूट्स में समा होता है. तो अगर हम लोग ट्री को परमानेंटली मारना चाहते हैं, हम लोग को क्या करना पड़ेगा? ट्री को अपरूट करना पड़ेगा, बिल्कुल रूट से उसको उखाड़ फेंकना होगा. So the root is to be pulled out of the anchoring earth. Now what does the word anchoring mean? Now you must have seen the ships are anchored to the shore of the sea. How? Anchor is kind of a hook. कभी देखा है, कभी लॉन्च या शिप में अगर चढ़े होंगे तो देखा होगा कि शिप को एक हुक वाला चीज से, एक हुक जैसा चीज से उसको शोर के साथ लगाया जाता है. Right? So that is known as the anchor of the ship. Just like a ship is anchored to the shore, similarly the root is also fixed to the ground. What does the soil do? We know that the soil holds the roots of a tree firmly, as a result of which the tree remains fixed to the ground. So, here the soil is compared with an anchor, a hook with which a ship is fixed to the shore. Similarly, it is the soil which holds the soil it is the soil which holds the roots of the tree firmly and fixes it to the ground. It is to be roped, tied. So what has to be done in order to kill a tree? First of all, a rope has to be tied around the tree, and then it is to be pulled out, snapped out, meaning to pull out very rudely, very roughly. So the tree, first of all, it has to be tied, a rope has to be tied around the tree, and next it has to be pulled out from the soil in a very rough and rude way. It has to be pulled out entirely, so the root has to come out of the soil. The entire tree, along with its roots, should come out of the soil, meaning uprooting of the tree has to be done out of the earth cave. Earth cave refers to the surface of the soil. So the tree has to come out of the soil and the strength of the tree exposed. This is the way the strength of the tree will be exposed. Now, I already told you that the life of the tree, the strength of the tree lies in its roots. Once you uproot the tree, you pull the tree out of the soil along with its roots, it will die, because it is the root where the strength, the life of the tree is stored. So, this root has to be exposed, has to come out of the soil. The source, white and wet, which is the source of the tree, the source of life in a tree. The source of life in a tree is its root, which is white in color, and it is wet. I told you that it is the root which absorbs the water and minerals from the soil, and therefore it remains wet, and it is also white in color. Why it is white in color? Because it does not receive the sun rays, it remains under the soil, so it is white in color, and it is always wet. It is the most sensitive part of the tree. I told you that this is the part, the roots is the part where the life of the tree is present. So it is the most sensitive part of the tree, which remains hidden inside the earth for years. We don't see the roots of the tree. Why? Because it remains hidden in the earth, and it remains like that ever since its growth. Next stanza. Then the matter of scorching and choking in sun and air, browning, hardening, twisting, withering, and then it is done. So, after that, once the tree is uprooted, then the tree is left under the sun. The sun's rays scorch and choke the tree. The tree is dried up. The tree is dried up under the sun and the air. Then the matter of scorching and choking in sun and air. So is it that happens next? Browning and hardening. Now when the tree is left under the sun and air, it turns brown in color. It gets scorched up by the sun's heat and it turns brown in color. And it also gets hardened. It becomes hard. Twisting, withering. Then it is the tree is twisted and it is withered. Withered means it gets dried up. It is dried up. And then it is done. And then finally the tree is killed. Now we see such a lengthy procedure is involved in killing a tree. That shows what kind of life the tree has. It is not an easy life. It has to bear a lot of wound, a lot of injuries, has to bear a lot of pain in order to accept its death. And we also see to what level of cruelty human beings can reach in order to kill a tree. How cruel a man has to be in order to carry out these procedures to kill a tree. So, this is the poem. I hope you have understood the poem and you have liked the explanation. Thank you.